What's up, guys? Fajita Mike here with another episode of Hold That Tongue. Today, we're going to talk about one hell of a man. I knew him as Uncle David, but most people knew him as Killer. David Killer Ogle was well known for being the man who Mickey Gilley trusted with his life and his really large honky tonk in Pasadena, Texas, known as Gilley's. Now, before we get into Killer, let's jump back, way back, to a small rowdy town known as Faraday, Louisiana, to see how Killer became the trusted one for not just Mickey Gilley, but to the numerous country stars who came to Houston, Texas. Faraday is located northeast Louisiana, a jump over the border from Natchez, Mississippi. And that's where Killer and his 5 brothers and 1 sister, which would become my mom, was from. Yeah, there in the 80s old bus, we would move from Houston, Texas to Louisiana a lot. And Faraday was one of the stops we made. I think I was in the 3rd grade. I swear, the elementary school was in the middle of a cotton field. And I was getting bullied by a bigger student, a black chick. She made most of my days hell. But the day I got the good news we were headed back to Texas, and the teacher announced it to the class, that chick walked up to me, gave me a hug, and told me she was gonna miss me. Completely confused leaving. Now let's get back to Killer. In them days, there were also 3 cousins who would grow up in Faraday. If you grew up under a rock and don't know who these 3 cousins are, they are Jerry Lee Lewis, the crazy one, Mr. Great Balls of Fire, and Jimmy Swaggart, the religious one, and Mickey Gilley, the cowboy. 3 of them would grow up different from each other, but they all possessed the same talent, and that's playing the piano and singing. Rumor has it that they would sneak off together to go listen to blues at the local beer joints in the area. Hey guys, before we get to these fellow bands, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, so we can beat this algorithm and get my content out there, and hit that bell so you can get notified when I drop the next time. They would grow up using their talent in completely different ways. Jimmy took his show to the pulpit. Eventually, he became one of the most famous, powerful, and controversial televangelists in human history. Jerry Lee Lewis was the ultimate rebel. He took that fierce Faraday piano style and used it to help invent rock and roll. With his hits like Great Balls of Fire and a whole lot of shaking going on. And Mickey Gilley was the smooth, business-minded country star. While Jerry Lee went wild, Mickey refined his sound, moved to Houston, Pasadena, and became the massive country music hit maker with 17 #1 hits. Jerry, he was wild, completely unpredictable, and lived a life of absolute chaos, which is exactly why he needed a heavy-duty personal bodyguard like Killer for so many years. He was the rock and roll icon of the family, constantly walking the line between genius and self-destruction. So before we get into Gilley's, I got a trivia question for you. What did Mickey Gilley want to call Gilley's at first? If you know, leave it in the comments. If you don't know, stick to the end and I'll give you the answer. Gilley's wasn't started by a giant corporation. It was born out of a partnership between a shrewd local businessman named Sherwood Pryor and a struggling country singer named Mickey Gilley. Pryor was a former Shell oil welder who had accumulated a string of convenience stores and small rough bars around Pasadena. He owned a place on Spencer Highway called Shelley's in 7071. He saw Mickey Gilley playing piano at a local spot, recognized his talent, and made him a deal. Come play at my club 6 days a week, and I'll give you part ownership and put your name on a sign. To understand Gilley's, you have to understand 1970s Pasadena. The Texas Gulf Coast was experiencing a massive economic boom driven by the petrochemical plants and oil refineries. Thousands of young working class guys were pulling grueling, hot 60-hour weeks in these plants. When Friday night hit, they had a pocket full of cash and a desperate need to blow off steam. Gilley's became their church. Let's take a look at Gilley's numbers. The place was 48,000 square feet, held 4,000 to 6,000 people a day, a night, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And they had a saying, "We doze, but we never close." After Killer and Jerry split ways, Mickey brought Killer over from Faraday to run security for the bar and be his bodyguard. At 48,000 square feet, this place was massive. This thing had a fully indoor rodeo arena, dozens of pool tables, pinball machine, arcade games, and punching bags, showers out back specifically for long-haul truck drivers who stopped in off the highway for a alcoholic beverage, I guess. Definitely back in the 80s. A shooting gallery and arm wrestling table. It owned its own recording studio, its own branded radio show broadcasts on over 500 stations nationwide, and even its own brand of Gilley's beer. And like I said, they had a motto: "We doze, but we never close." They were open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Sherwood Cryer actually held the patent for the mechanical bull, which he named El Toro. The mattresses Cryer originally invented it was a way to let local plant workers test their rodeo skills without needing livestock, because people were constantly getting flung off. Cryer used to drive around Pasadena in his truck collecting discarded mattresses off the curb to line the floors around the bull so people wouldn't crack their heads on the concrete. In the 1970s, Mickey Gilley teamed up with Johnny Lee and became a staple performer at Gilley's Club. He practically lived on that stage, working as Mickey's right-hand man for over a decade. Imagine this Friday night in the 80s, 1980. You just pulled a brutal, hot 60-hour week at the Shell Oil Refinery or welding pipe out in Pasadena heat somewhere. You got a pocket full of cash, your best starched jeans on, and you're pulled into a gravel parking lot that looks like it goes forever. Welcome to Gilley's, the world's largest honky-tonk, 48,000 square feet of neon sawdust flying Lone Star bottles and 6,000 blue-collar Texans ready to blow the roof off the place. You walk up to the front door ready to act tough, but standing right there at the entrance is literally a mountain of a man. If he knows you, he's instantly busting your balls with a grin. But if you're a newcomer, he gives you a look that makes your voice crack down into your throat before you can say hello. He's looking at you like you're his next meal. Sherwood Cryer noticed a writer named Aaron Latham hanging around the bar watching the regulars. Cryer actively encouraged him to write about the theme. Latham published a cover story for Esquire magazine in September of '78 titled "The Ballad of the Urban Cowboy, America Searching True Grit." Hollywood reads the article, appointed it, and by 1979, John Travolta and Deva Wigner were down in Pasadena filming Urban Cowboy right on location. When the movie hit the theaters in June of 80, it grossed over $50 million and completely changed American culture overnight. Disco died. Suddenly people in New York and Los Angeles were wearing cowboy hats, riding mechanical bulls, and doing the Cotton Eye Joe. Killer's reputation got so big, Hollywood came calling in the late 1980s. NBC flew him out to Los Angeles for a primetime reality show called Games People Play. They put him in a professional boxing ring for a segment called Muscling America's Toughest Bouncer. He was out there on national television tossing stuntmen mid-air and throwing beer kegs for distance. And who was he competing against? A pre-fame bodyguard from Chicago named Lawrence Turner. The man the world would come know as Mr. T. Sylvester Stallone watched that exact broadcast, saw Mr. T's fierce intensity, and cast him as Clubber Lang in Rocky III. My uncle was standing right in the middle of the brutal that hurt 80 pop culture. The fallout. As the 1980s progressed, the oil boom busted and the crowd dramatically changed. More importantly, the relationship between Mickey Gilley and Sherwood Cryer turned incredibly toxic. A massive multi-million-dollar lawsuit over the bar earnings and management dragged on for years. The verdict in 1987, the court finally ruled entirely in Mickey Gilley's favor, stripping Cryer of his control, and legendary venue closed its doors shortly after. Then the fire. In 1990, before the property could be repurposed, the main building was gutted and burned completely to the ground in a devastating case of arson, putting a fiery, dramatic exclamation point on an end of an era. And then it was September 1990 when we lost Uncle David to a massive heart attack he suffered while living in Nashville. He has been truly missed, but never forgotten. So, I hope y'all liked the video of Gilley's and my Uncle David. And Gilley, Mickey Gilley wanted to name the bar the Den of Sin, which I don't think that would work too well. Gilley's worked out just fine. What do y'all think? Well, guys, till next time, I'm Fajita Mike. This is Hold That Tongue. Tell them they better hold it because we ain't hearing it. Till next time, guys, I'm out this. Biatch.